It's not about you. Look, honey, it's not about you. It's all about them and how they feel in their experience. And we lose that because we've canned and prepackaged so many things based on us thinking it's amazing. And we're not considering the other side and how things make them feel and what experience we're providing to them. We lose that a lot.
Well, we're going to kick off this season of Lessons from Last Time with a powerhouse. So we get guests from all over the place. A lot of times I've known somebody a long time. Sometimes I'll meet somebody or see them somewhere and be like, wow, they've really accomplished a lot. With our guest today, I've got somebody who the first time I heard her talk out loud, I went, I must know her and I must find out what's behind the powerhouse that she is. We've got the brains, we've got the knowledge, we've got the communication skills, we've got everything in Mosi Gatling. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ken.
This is so cool. I literally was sitting in a room in Napa, California, and you were talking and I went, I wonder if she'd ever be on the podcast. Like this was my dream that you would someday be on the podcast. And I'll tell you why, and we'll kind of kick it off with this. You say things other people aren't going to in a way that needs to be said. Like you are just a person that doesn't think like, maybe I shouldn't say this. Like, no, it needs to be said. And it feels like you know those things. So is that a good description of you?
That is a perfect description of me, actually. If I don't say it, who will? And that's kind of become my philosophy. I'm okay breaking the mold and taking the blame and making sure I say it out loud so people know. I just think it's important to say what needs to be said and not kind of tiptoe around it. It's part of me being authentic, I guess. I don't really think I'm being a superhero or I'm totally impressed by everything you said about me. I'll probably write this down later.
I think we're recording it.
Yes. Yeah. I'll write this down later and add it to tell ChatGPT you said this about me.
Oh, nice.
So it can remember it because I think that that's amazing that you think that. And it's part of me being authentic to myself and saying the things that mean something to me and not holding it. I know life, everybody we don't have an infinite time on this earth. And if I can't be true to myself and make sure I say the things that are important to me, the things that I believe in or speak up, then what would my legacy look like? You know, I wanted my daughters, my family to be able to say something about mom besides mom did a lot of mortgages. I didn't want that to be the only thing that they remembered about me. I want them to know that I spoke up. I said things that needed to be said in the rooms I had the access to.
And let's establish you are in the mortgage industry, though this isn't a mortgage-based podcast. A lot of our clients are from mortgage because that's where I hang out with all these friends of mine. But in mortgage, talk about for a second your current title, your current, where you're at with the mortgage space.
Right now in mortgage, I'm the Senior Vice President of Strategic Growth and Expansion at New American Funding. Uniquely, I have what I like to call a really dope job where I get to make things. I get to plan strategy for the company, different programs, things that help us grow, but I still get to manage a team and still originate every day to make sure my skills remain exactly where they need to be, top of the game, dealing with the people, hearing what their pain points are so I can bring it back to what I do on the corporate level as an executive to make sure we are exactly where we need to be for the people.
It's funny. I haven't done a loan since the 1900s. And so I love that you're still originating because I can't authentically talk about what it's like to do a mortgage right now. You are leading people, but you're also able to speak the language because you've kept, that foot in the game.
Yes, absolutely. Every day. I probably took 3 applications just yesterday. I was in my hotel last night working to make sure that I talked to the clients that reached out to me or were referred to me. So I'm actively doing business, but I think it makes me sharper at what I talk about and bring validity to those pain points for the mortgage people that work at the company, as well as the clientele. How do you know what really will move the needle if we're just all sitting in a room assuming what will or what did maybe 15 or 20 years ago? And then having a valid point of how to move the needle with the data.
Okay, so I remember when I first met you, I thought, what makes a person like this? Like, how does a person get to be who you are? What's the past? What's the history? And it fascinates me to dive into people's history. And you actually, a military kid?
Yes.
and you lived in quite a few houses.
Yes. Every couple years as a kid, almost every 2 years, I ended up moving. That's the way it was for military kids back in the day. I'm a Navy brat, raised a Navy brat. So it was fun, though. I got a chance to meet a lot of different people, which I think that's part of what made me who I am and the way I am now.
Thinking about how others might see you, thinking about how others might experience you, about how you're experiencing things. Talk a little bit about, so you were in California, and when you left California, you were leaving all your friends there, right?
Yes.
Every time you move, you're having to establish yourself again, moving to a new area. Talk about your experience in Kansas.
That was interesting. When I was in California, it was a melting pot, first of all. And then also I lived on a military base. I lived in base housing, as we call it. Friends from everywhere. One of my best friends was from Peru. Everybody came from all over the United States and sometimes foreign countries. And my father, being Navy, would have to leave for months at a time and be on one of the naval ships because you work there. You go on what we call cruise. And we would go back home and stay with Grandma. Grandma lived in Kansas. My parents are both from Wichita, Kansas. And I think it's where I got the culture shock of my life coming from California. I had no exposure to what I was in for. And I didn't realize at the age of 11-ish that I would be thrown into a system that still participated in integration of schools. I didn't know that existed. I'm thinking, I'm from California. What's happening right now? That I have to get on a bus and be bused to the other side of town to go to a school to make sure that they had integration at all. It changed my life. I went from walking to school with my friends in the neighborhood, walking next door, waiting for my friend, us walking to school together, staying after school for school activities, and that was all taken away. I couldn't go to the school that was around the corner from my grandmother's house in walking distance, all for sake of integration. I thought that was it, and I was too young at that time because you really didn't study any of that in school until probably maybe late middle school or high school to really get into history to talk about integration and what that meant and what it looked like. I was too young. All I knew was my life changed, and why do I have to do this? A definite shock to my system coming from California to that. I didn't know why it happened. I was like, what is going on?
How long's the bus ride in that case?
It was about 45 minutes to an hour in traffic every morning and evening. So it was dark when I got home.
Yeah.
Couldn't play outside. In the morning, I had to wake up obnoxiously early and walk to the bus stop just at the end of the street. And it was a Black neighborhood, mostly. And all of us on the bus were Black, but there wasn't anybody Black that really went to the school. So you're all just kind of dropped off on this island, like, here you go. It wasn't what I was used to. If I needed to make up schoolwork or stay after school, I could when I walked to school. And now I couldn't because I had to run to make sure I caught that bus, or it could be problems getting picked up and being on a totally opposite side of town. I didn't even know that still existed in my lifetime.
I bet there's a lot of people right now going, I need to, like, if they're listening to this, they're probably jumping on the video, like, how old is she?
Yeah.
You're young. Like, when you told me this, I was like, wait, what? Like, that didn't happen in our lifetime, but it did.
It did. It absolutely did. So when people talk about history and what did and didn't happen, I'm the one in the room saying, yeah, no, that's not right. I experienced it. And some people are shocked by that. And as to why, they just thought, oh, these people ride the bus. No. There was a plan and the reason why. And it was to integrate schools that didn't naturally have it because, the population of diverse people in the area around the school wasn't what it needed to be. So I was part of that.
Wow.
Never experienced anything like that in my life. So as I grew up and read the history books and things that have occurred and happened and in the Black community and in diverse communities in general, I take it differently because of my personal experience. And having some of those things taken from me that I didn't get to experience while doing that. I wasn't there for a long period of time because, my father comes back and he gets restationed. I was off to the next place, but 2 years of my life, that's what it was.
Wow.
That's what it was.
So do you remember like having to, like, how did you survive that environment? You get off the bus with all these other kids who don't look like the kids that are already at the school. Do you try to blend in at that point, or do you try to still be out there and be you? Like, what's the plan?
It was interesting because I didn't think I could be me. I just thought it was I thought it was interesting. You can't have a normal school life that you would if you walked to school or lived around the corner from the school, because all your friends would be there. So it's like your life is split in two. You don't get to hang out with the people you go to school with and go to birthday parties, or you're not on the same soccer team. You just have a handful of people you associate with. The other half of the people that go to that school and live in that area, you go home and you shut that part of you off. Mm-hmm. Doesn't exist anymore.
So you felt what it's like to be that person.
Yeah.
Is that part of what kind of drove you to, I want to be there for people and I want to meet them where they're at? Because
yeah, it's about everybody's individual experience. And I think we lose that sometimes. It's not about you when you're doing business with people that are buying homes. It's all about them and how they feel.
Say that again, because I love it.
Look,
I want you to say it twice.
Okay. It's not about you. Look, honey, it's not about you. It's all about them and how they feel and their experience going through the buying process. And we lose that because we've canned and prepackaged so many things based on us thinking it's amazing. And we're not considering the other side and how things make them feel and what experience we're providing to them. And they're our customers. We, in fact, should. Mm-hmm. We lose that a lot. Mm-hmm. So me having different experiences, being around different people, yeah, it shaped me a ton. So it allows me, I know it's kind of cliche, people say walk a mile in someone else's shoes. At least gain the perspective to be able to do that. You don't literally have to, but if you are an executive, you head up marketing, having an innate ability to really listen to people and say, okay, I could see that. You don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to go live it to say it is and it's happened, but you could say, oh, I could see how that could affect you. How could I make that better? It makes us better people in the boardroom and at the table making decisions to just have different perspectives.
I notice you did something that I do when we were at that meeting, and there was it 50 people in the room in Napa, maybe. And I remember I was really impressed by you because you did what I would have done, which is you waited to speak up until you knew that room needed to hear from you. Is that like a normal style for you? Because I do the same thing. I'm not talking a lot in seminars. Like if I'm in an audience, but at some point this needs to be heard because the room needs it. So that's you listening to what the room might need.
Correct. And if you know how they say, if you see something, say something. Yeah, I saw something. Mm-hmm. I watched the room moving in a certain direction. And if it kept going, I thought maybe it's going to get a little off the rails with what we really need to be dialed into because it needed perspective in that moment. And sometimes it's good to, I'm not even saying sometimes, I say all the time. It's good to have a lot of people at the table with you that have different perspectives. I just like to strip it down to the bare essence of what it is. The more different everybody is at the table, you get a different vantage point, an experience you've never had, something you've never felt. And that might be, these are reflections of your core clients that you're getting at that table. I know people have said it's DEI. I don't say that. I just think diverse perspectives and opinions. I don't care what you all look like. I don't care what you ate for dinner. But if we have different vantage points and we're having a conversation, man, that's where you get into it and problems get solved. The customer is taken in account because you took in account something somebody said that you had no way to know of or think about. So I love it when we get at the table and there's a lot of us that are different or had different experiences and can speak to them because we really can improve the product that we're delivering to people, how people see our industry, and really what our offering is out there.
Mm-hmm. So my wife and I are hosting a community night for people in their 20s. And with 3 kids in their 20s. And so it's our view that they're just not getting out enough. They're not building community the same way we did. You know, we all met, you know, we'd go to Lions, as this restaurant in Concord, California. And at night, you weren't at home playing video games or there was no internet. And so we'd meet at Lions. We go hang out, and that was the spot, man. You walk in there, everybody knows you. It's like the greatest thing. They don't have that anymore, that community. So we're doing this community night, and my wife's like, we got to make a flyer for community night, like get that thing texted out. And so I'm like, all right, I'll do it real fast. So I jump on ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, we're doing this thing. I need a flyer built. It makes me this really good looking flyer, like fancy. And so we texted to our family chat. And I'm like, hey guys, what do you think about this flyer? And I got blasted by my kids because they're like, Dad, stop using ChatGPT. And I'm like, what? And my daughter, my youngest, she's 21, and she goes, nobody will go because they want to boycott because you just use ChatGPT and we don't do that. And I'm like, what? And so I went back on ChatGPT. I'm like, make it look like I drew it. And it did it, and I tricked them. And so I had to make it so that they didn't feel like it was not authentic and like it didn't come from a real human. Like I phoned it in by dialing it in. Now people my age would be like, oh, what a cool flyer. How'd you do that? Right. But knowing the audience and knowing that they're not interested in that is kind of what you're going into here.
Exactly.
It's like, don't just make what you would have received. Know your client and give them what they need to receive.
What they need all the time. And it's like I said, it doesn't matter where they're from or what they ate for dinner last night. You can dial into that a little bit more if you have a use case, but understanding them. And I think that in my industry, looking at younger home buyers, that's probably our biggest miss. You just brought that up. I have children that are 20 somethings, almost 30. And you know, sometimes I'll say something to them and they're like, oh my God, how did you know how to say that? Probably because I said it when I was 20 and you guys stole it.
Yeah.
Like I tell them that, like, yeah, there's a super cool person hiding inside of me that you don't even know anything about. Like, do you know who I am? You know, that's how I talk to my kids, but they are falling out of love with the things that we think are so major and important in life, which home ownership is one of them. But it's because for years we've just tried to say that home ownership means the same exact thing. And it doesn't mean that to them. I mean, I remember growing up, it was, you know, what was the path of people that are my age? And that is you go to school, you know, you find your person, you fall in love, you guys buy a house, then you have children. That's not everybody's path. I don't have any grandkids yet, you know? So to them, buying children or having children is a little bit down, you know, the totem pole when it comes to things to do. And for my generation, if they're going to,
right.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
So they're looking at, I just want to go live my best life. So marketing and connecting with them is, how is housing part of their best life right now, the way they want to do it, not the way me and you did it. So considering, again, the industry, it's like, okay, I'll call us, we're the old heads in the room. Like, let me just say, now we're the old heads in the room, right? Everybody who's like 45 and older, but you need to think about how the people that you do business with are going to receive what you say. They don't want it your way. They do not want to house your way. They do not want a real estate like their parents or their grandparents. The same things aren't important right now in 2026 to them. So we really need to go back to the drawing board on how we talk to and market and connect with our consumers because of that. Or we could be a dying breed. It's not important to them. It's like, go get it together. You know, we need to fix it. We do.
Talk about the words generational wealth.
I hate it. I know, I'm a Black woman saying I hate the word generational wealth. Like, hold on to this because I do hate it. The reason why is because at my big old age, I never had generational wealth. It was spoke about as this, you know, the epitome. If you do these things and get generational wealth, you've made it. Okay. Then you look at the generation after me, they still don't have it either. So if you talk to someone that's probably in their early 20s or 30s, generational wealth is folklore. You need to give them something they can really sink their teeth into and handle and maybe execute, honestly. Because if they go back to their family and they say, oh my gosh, I'm buying for generational wealth, their family's going to give the proverbial eye roll at you because nobody has it. So you just told them to go chase something that hasn't been reachable thus far. And the younger generations are calling us out on it. They're calling us on our BS that buying a house does not equal that. So since it never has, when are we going to stop saying 2 + 2 = 6? So no, I don't use it in marketing. I talk about the other things that ownership will give them and how they can parlay it into maybe just wealth. These younger kids are not excited about buying something with the hopes that when I die, I can give it to somebody. Because remember, they may not be having kids. We just established that.
Right.
Maybe they're like, oh, so you want me to do this and save it for my cat? Like, what are we doing here? Right? So again, that's just really understanding the mindset of your core client. Where are they at in their journey? What have they heard? How do they feel about it? Why is this not important to them? If you understood it's not as important, it was also a catchphrase brought to fruition way back when. It's a fair housing phrase, okay? And we talk about fair housing was just to have the right to borrow money to be able to buy. It wasn't like we're a chance where everybody was given a home and it was amazing. It was, hi, we're going to actually give you the right now to be able to buy a home, finance it just like everybody else. And that's when the catchphrase generational wealth was born.
Wow.
So who made that up?
It was almost to make us feel better. Look at us giving you
Made it
generational
palatable.
wealth. Right.
Look at us. We're creating generational wealth for you that we actually never have gotten now that it's 2026.
Right.
So the younger generation is just calling us on our BS that buying a home doesn't necessarily equal that. Plus, I'm not super excited to buy something only for the hope that when I die, it's worth something to somebody else. I want to live my best life now. What does that look like? Home ownership is almost, it's lifestyle to them and not a thing that they need for survival, because if they don't own right now, they're already making it okay. They're happy in their apartment. It's got a ton of amenities. Why would they hop on the struggle bus and go buy a house and pay more a month? So again, that's another reframe that's needed in our industry.
I feel like you just got a phone with my daughter. She's like, amenities. My daughter's looking for an apartment. She lives by herself in an apartment. And she's like, I need the pool to be just right. The gym's got to be just right. Like all
Gym's
that
gotta be
stuff. She
poppin'.
loves that.
Correct.
So when she's looking at home ownership, because we've had this discussion, I'm like, do you want to buy a house? And she's like, maybe, but like, does it have a gym?
Right. Well, here's
does it have a pool?
I did teach a class. I was teaching it to realtors for the National Association of Realtors. And I talked about how listing homes in 2026 should be done different. You're no longer selling homes just based on square footage. What does that mean to somebody?
Right.
Do they have a tape measure? Can they put it in their phone and say, how many bedrooms do I get? What size are they? Are they going to fit my bed and my stuff? Square footage doesn't give them a clear picture of that. And then typically on listing photos, it's the front of the house. It's some awkward picture of a bedroom at an awkward angle.
Right. With the bed in it still. And you're like, oh,
you're going to have to really imagine who would live in this house in this neighborhood? Who are the neighbors here? How can I make this more of a lifestyle listing to tell them that, man, there's 3 bedrooms. There's this awesome room you can turn into a content studio.
Oh my God.
That's what's going to sell a house to a 20-something.
Oh my gosh.
It's not going to be, oh my God, look, you have a spare room for guests. They don't want nobody at their house anyway. We just established that. They're not having game night.
That's why they're moving. Because they have
Correct.
too many people in their current house.
Exactly. They don't want to have game night and invite
Oh
everybody
my gosh.
over. So a content room, a room for you as an entrepreneur to keep your stock for the things that you sell online on
your
the
side
TikTok
hustle.
shop.
Oh my God.
We're selling side hustles. So the industry, like I said, we're just stuck in this, oh my God, amazing square footage. You'd have a spare bedroom because you only have 2 kids. And we sound like we're old, you know? But that's not what appeals to them. They will buy a house if they need it. But what about the millions of people that are maybe homeownership ready, but don't own right now because they're not really feeling compelled?
And there's so many of them.
There's so many of them. There's
Yeah.
millions of them.
Yeah.
And as an originator myself and an executive, it's like, those are the people I need to talk to. But you know you have to come correct, or just like your daughter, they're going to kick you to the curb until you try again, or maybe you don't even get a second chance. And the people in the industry that don't maybe have that shift of the value proposition of ownership for who your core client is, which you have to sit down and think about that. The greatest pool of buyers that haven't bought yet is probably between the ages of 25 and 45. Okay. So how are you talking to them? And it's hard that if first time buyer age is increased to as much as 40, you really can't say, hey, buy this house in like 10 years, maybe sell it. In 10 years from 40, they're probably looking at retirement. Like, what does that look like? You're going to have to explain that to them, though. You can't talk to them like you talk to a first time buyer 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's not the same. Not economically right now with the prices of homes. It's not. And a lower rate doesn't solve everything.
When you go talk about this stuff to people, like you've got to be watching their eyes as I do when I speak. I always watch people's eyes to see if what I'm saying is shocking. Are you getting people like, boom, like you're seeing the light bulb go off?
There's a lot of people that are like, oh my gosh, you're right.
Just that content studio thing.
So if you're going to do an ad for first-time buyers, don't have a group of people that look like the Golden Girls, okay, on a flyer. I love the Golden Girls.
Oh, yeah.
I aspire to be one at this age. I love jogging suits and athleisure and all the things.
You know they weren't that old, right?
Yeah,
like that's the hardest
Let's
part.
go sit out on the lanai.
I just looked at their
right?
age. You're not old. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have the Golden Girls on a flyer, are you really talking to first-time buyers? It's all the things. What demographic are you trying to reach? You can be very, very strategic with that and make sure it resonates with them. Because if it doesn't, you just made something pretty so you could pat yourself on the back. It didn't make any motion, a movement in what you needed to get done.
So the process is first figuring out who it is you're trying to talk to so that you can figure out how they hear things.
Correct. You do. You really need to understand what makes them tick. And we know there's so many entrepreneurs. And I mean, you go online, it's like everybody should go get a business.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody should day trade and get a business.
Yeah.
So you better be talking that when it's your home list. I encourage real estate agents on your home listings. A lot of times I'll consult my real estate agents I work with and they'll say, hey, I have this house coming to market. I was like, hey, show me some pictures. Where is it at? Let me look it up. Okay. And we talk about how to maybe market that home. What programs, and the description can't just be, it's a beautiful home on a corner lot. That's what we're used to, but you can be a little bit different. It's not just bedrooms for children. It's not just bedrooms in case you have guests. It's a home office, a content studio, enough to start a home business out of, because you have to think about what people's lives will look like, not just today, but maybe in the next 6 years. And then if they needed that bedroom for children, maybe they could do that. But the right now for them may not be that. And people are waiting a little bit longer to have children. You know, I've heard that, incentivizing families on their tax returns for, having kids, a child tax credit. What does that look like? Yeah, because people aren't having them at the same rate that they used to. So we're already here. I'm not saying it's going to come. We're already here. We just have not adjusted the way that we market and connect with people.
It's funny. I was doing a seminar on isolation and loneliness. And as I was doing my research for the seminar, I found, I think it's South Korea, that has like a $600 a month stipend for you to go on a date. So if you'll go out with somebody, they'll pay you because they're struggling to get their baby rate is down. They're struggling to get more people to like go out and find each other and date. So like you have to know, what is the problem? Like, why aren't they buying houses? Is it, going to take multiple steps back? You said over lunch, you said you always ask why.
Yeah.
Why is that? Well, why is that? Why is
Tell
that?
me
Ask why a
more.
bunch of times. Yeah.
That's like the best phrase that I adopted in 2025. Even before I take an application, I'm like, so tell me what you're wanting to accomplish. I know it sounds like I'm crazy. Like I'm a therapist. That's how I start my conversations when someone wants to buy. So tell me what you're looking to accomplish. Because that to me is more important than just the data entry of taking a 1003 or an application. I want to know what they want to accomplish. I want to know what their next 5 years look like. If they don't say kids are in it, then we're not going to do things around kids and growing a family. Like maybe they stair step and they get more of a condo or a townhome because they don't have a 5-year plan for that, but they do have some extra bedrooms that may not be for kids right now. So we have better conversations by us really being in the driver's seat and asking to know more. It's so important right now.
Let's talk about some of the best ways to do this. Variety in your life, right? I talk to people who go, I'm on LinkedIn and pretty much that's all I need. And, And so I'm like, well, do you want any first time homebuyer? Like, do you want any young people? Because like, if you don't understand, I don't spend a lot of time on TikTok, but I'll go through TikTok to see what's trending at this point, or ask my daughters to tell me what's trending. Usually if you don't do that, you're going to pick up a trend late. And what young people have told me is if you're late, just stop.
Just stop
Like
it.
that's,
Sit down.
oh
That's
my
what the
gosh.
kids will tell you. Just, oh my God,
Yeah.
Mom, sit down. You're late. We were doing that 6 months ago. You
Right.
can't be that person. What's
Right.
interesting about that is my father, who was in the Navy, he is 74. My children cannot get a hold of my father, their grandfather, unless they message him on TikTok. He spends
amazing.
all his time on
He's
TikTok.
the
He sends me
anomaly.
so much stuff on TikTok.
TikTok.
He loves the TikTok shop. So my older millennial
way.
inheritance will be stuff from the TikTok shop. Just so I'm very aware of this at this point, because
that's awesome.
But that's where people are shopping.
Right.
So because they shop there, they're getting exposure to so many things.
Yeah.
I don't post a ton on TikTok, but I went live with a real estate agent on TikTok, and there were like 2,000 people in there.
Wow.
TikTok is lit.
Yeah.
It's lit.
All right. I want to end with just one more thing here, and that is your dad. So your dad, Navy man, your dad was strict, and I want you to tell the story of your grades when you were young.
Yeah, my dad was so strict. I remember if I left to go to a friend's house, he'd call me over and say, "Okay, let's synchronize our watches." Like that's how strict.
awesome.
If I had to describe my dad to you,
Yeah.
and he's a militant Navy man, is what he was. But I remember not getting great grades, and in my dad's house, I don't think anything less than a B was good. And even if you got a B, the question he would ask me was, "So why don't you have an A?" He wanted to understand what prevented me from maybe being the best, and to hear my story as to what it was. Am I not getting what I need in school? Like, what's happening here? You're not asking the questions. My dad also told me back then that if I didn't ask the questions, I would never learn the answer. So I wasn't getting great grades. I had a C- in algebra, and I'm in 6th grade, and he is just taking me through it about my grade card. And at that point, he told me he was going to come up to the school. Of course, I'm mortified that he's going to come up to the school and sit in my class and see what happens in my class. But my dad was a man who also always told me to look people in the eye when you talk. So, and it was a rule. It was, "Yes, sir," and I'm looking at him in his eyes. He's like, "Look at me." And I knew that meant it was time to learn something. He said, "Don't ever say again that you don't like math. In your lifetime, there will be plenty of people that will try to find a way to take you out the game. It will be because you're a woman. It may even be because you're Black. But I need you to never count yourself out. So don't ever say again that you don't like math." He's like, "I'm going to go up to your school, not to punish you, but I want to observe and see if people are getting their questions answered by the teacher. Is it an instruction issue?" Remember, he's an instructor at this point in the Navy and teaching younger Navy people coming in how to work on aircraft, but also math and things like that. So he would have me work on math problems at home, like in spare time. So he did come up, he talked to the teacher, and he told her, like, "I really need you to answer my daughter's questions if she asks. I have told her and empowered her to ask questions. She cannot leave your classroom unless she has all her questions answered." After that moment, I always got A's. And it's a mentality I took forward that I'm going to ask the questions. Maybe until you're sick of me, I'm going to ask because I'm going to understand why and how it ticks. And I'm always going to believe that I can do anything. I'm not even going to rely on people to believe in me, because maybe that means we're not aligned. If you don't think I'm capable or I have the ability, that's fine. I'll move on. But I'll move on and still be great.
Wow. That's so awesome.
My
I'm
dad's
sure
good
you've told
people.
him many times how impactful he's been in
I
your
am
life.
I am Larry Hughes' child. That's what it is. And I had great parents. I have great parents. My parents always told me I could be anything. But that moment right there, I think, changed my trajectory about how I aggressively went after my goals, how I wouldn't take no for an answer. Your no doesn't mean no to me, period. It's just not me and you.
Wow.
So I can move on and still do what I know I'm capable of.
Yeah.
And you can if you start there and don't count yourself out.
Wow. So yeah, know that you can do it, know that you're good enough, and then ask all the right questions, get behind all of this, and then create a plan based on the things that you've learned. And in many points, it's the things that you've learned about the people you're trying to work with.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. This has been amazing, and I knew it would be, but mind blowing, and I appreciate you, and thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.